Tomorrow, the House Oversight Committee holds a hearing with gun makers. They will examine the practices and profits of gun manufacturers and their effect on gun violence in America. Congressman Byron is with us. He's on the committee that will grill the gun manufacturers. And Byron is a Republican. So, Congressman, would you support lawsuits that impose liability on gun makers?
No, I would not, and I think it's a terrible idea. But look, once again, you got the Democrats who are up here worrying about things that the American people are not focused on. They don't want to talk about inflation. They don't want to talk about gas prices. They don't want to talk about energy. They don't want to talk about the border. They don't want to talk about foreign policy. Those are the things that are actually on the minds of the American voter. They want to focus on things that focus their liberal base to come out and vote because the midterms are coming and they are cruising for a bruising.
Given your druthers, would you change any existing gun laws at all?
No, because if we actually examine the mass shootings that have occurred in the United States, the gun laws currently exist, and these proposals that the Democrats have wouldn't have stopped the shootings. Not one proposal they come up with would have actually stopped what has occurred. The issue is not the ability for Americans to acquire firearms. We have more firearms than any country in the world per capita. We know this. And if America had a violence problem, there would be significantly more violence in our streets than we have right now. The problem is that we do have mental health issues that are not going addressed, and these issues are actually occurring early on when kids are going through high school and they're falling through the cracks. That's where we need to be putting our focus.
We just read a news report that schools in Mississippi, they're considering allowing some staff members, some teachers, to carry firearms in school. How do you feel about that?
I think as long as a teacher is trained appropriately and goes to extensive training, extensive shooting, they should be allowed to carry it in schools. I'm not saying they carry it on their hip, and I think that's what most people think about when you hear carry in schools, but should they be able to access a firearm to actually repel a shooter? They absolutely should. The other thing is, in some of these counties in America, you don't know what the police response is. Some police departments are very remote from the schools. It would take them forever to get there, and carnage would ensue. We already see what's happened in Uvalde, where the officers were right outside the door and they just didn't engage the shooter. Engaging the shooter is what prevents more deaths every single time. You need rapid response. So if there are trained personnel in the schools, that should be sufficient enough to protect our kids while they're also getting their education.
All right, next one, Congressman. The White House is bragging about saving drivers $35 a month because gas prices have come down a little from their highs. Do you think they should be bragging about it?
No, because gas prices are still well over $4 a gallon throughout the country. Oh, so here's the talking point. You make gas prices go to $5 a gallon, and now that they're down to $4.50 a gallon, now you get a parade? Absolutely not. Joe Biden and congressional Democrats have made this problem. They are the ones who went down the radical Green New Deal policies. It is congressional Democrats that refuse to actually open up the Keystone Pipeline, that refuse to actually unleash the regulatory environment and give our energy companies a break. Congressional Democrats don't want to act. That's why we have the problems we have with gas prices. You don't get a parade because prices went down a little bit. We need to get back to $2 a gallon gas in the United States.
The big discussion at the moment is about the economy. Are we in a recession? Are we going into a recession? I want to ask you about Florida. Does it feel like a recession in Florida right now?
It's actually feeling like a recession in many parts of the country, and I think even Florida is starting to feel the effects. One of the things when I talk to small business owners in my district, we are seeing lower levels of consumer spending. People are spending less money doing the fun things because they're having to put gas in a tank, which is far more expensive, and food on the table, which is far more expensive. It is crowding out a lot of the other things. If we remember the last GDP report, what actually helped it be not worse than it was large amounts of consumer spending. And I can tell you right now, from the retailers I talk to, the businesses I talk to, consumer spending has lowered. It has not increased.
Got it. Byron Donalds, thanks so much for being with us, sir. We always appreciate it, and we'll see you again soon.
Anytime.